Hey everyone, as you know, my name is Mark Sherwood and I'm running for governor of the state of Oklahoma. I want to take a minute tonight to talk to you about relationships and the value they're in. Relationships that are really solid and formed on good foundations, they last the test of time. Even if there's disagreements, they last the test of time. However, relationships that are broken have a hard time ever reconciling. In our state of Oklahoma, there's been broken relationships. Case in point, the relationship our current government has with the Native American tribes. This is heartbreaking. Much of the confusion resides around the McGirt versus U.S. ruling, which in a nutshell established that the treaty is the law of the land, or supreme law of the land, and that the Muskogee Nation in this case has jurisdiction for the concept of crimes. Now, there's also been disagreements regarding mineral rights. There's been disagreements regarding gambling fees. There's been disagreements regarding hunting and fishing licenses. In a nutshell, the relationship between the government of the state of Oklahoma, specifically the governor of the state of Oklahoma, and the Native American tribes, all of them has been completely severed and fractured with no communication. This is heartbreaking, folks, because as I look at this as just with my own eyes and our history, and believe it or not, we're right here at 400 years later of the first Thanksgiving, which was a relationship that was built between the Native Americans and the European Americans. I remind you all that the flag of Oklahoma has, among other things, two symbols. One, a ceremonial pipe, and two, an olive branch that intersect as a symbol of peace between the Native Americans and the European Americans. My, how far we came. Every treaty that's been done with the Native Americans from the government has been broken. There's been over 200. There's distrust, and rightly so. My job, as I see it, and it's always been this way, as your next governor, is to build relationships. Now, as a Christian person, relationship building is important. Relationship severing is something I won't do. Now, just because somebody doesn't agree with you, it doesn't mean you sever the relationship. I'm going to keep the bridge of love open for people to come and have that access anytime they want. With our Native Americans, the relationships must be reestablished, and reestablished with a hat in hand with a humble attitude. When I look at what's happened within our state, I'm heartbroken. So much of our heritage in Oklahoma is centered around the Native Americans. We may be two people, but we're one nation, if you will. We may be two different tribes of people, or multiple tribes of people, but we're still living in Oklahoma. We're still human beings. Remember, there's only one race. That's called the human race. So I'm going to build this relationship. I'm already working to do that right now. I've got a meeting set up with key tribal members to establish relationships. And as your next governor, I'm going to establish a permanent liaison with all the tribes to have an open door policy to discuss some issues. We're going to deal with McGirt. We're going to figure out a solution that works for everybody. We're going to deal with the gambling issue. I am not going to come at you and try to sever the concept of sovereignty. That's already been established. I understand sovereignty from the 10th Amendment of the states. We need to push back, and that's a whole other issue for another day. But the bottom line is, this is to my Native American friends, we have a common enemy here. It's called big government. And I want us to understand that when big government overreaches within and to the citizens of any nation, the citizens of those nations will suffer. And I'm not going to be a party to that suffering, but I'm going to be a party to the healing of those nations. And that starts with relationships. So, with relationships, sometimes you have to admit you're wrong about stuff. And folks, as the European Americans go, we've been wrong with the Native Americans. And 3 words should come out of our mouth, and they're going to come out of mine right now. I'm sorry. I truly am. Because you shouldn't have been treated like that. You still shouldn't be treated like that. It's extremely disrespectful. It goes against our heritage, it goes against our history. You were here first. We can learn to live together. We can learn to do more than just coexist, but we can thrive together. When we sit down and talk, I want to hear you and I want to listen to you. And that doesn't go for just the Native Americans. That goes for every single group, every single grassroots group in the state of Oklahoma. We must build relationships. Even if we don't agree on everything, we can sit down, have a meal, share a handshake, and we can listen and determine what is different and understand each other better. And when we understand each other better, that's the beauty of cooperation. That's the beauty of understanding. We talk so much, but we listen so little. I believe God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, meaning we should listen more. So to my Native American friends, I'm truly sorry. We're going to listen more, and we're going to build these relationships back. And they're going to be better than ever. We're not going to go back to where we came from. We're going to do it even better. And we're going to let Oklahoma be a great example to how to do relationships. Folks, I want to be your next governor of Oklahoma. I'll promise you this. I'm going to work very, very hard at reestablishing relationships that need to be reestablished in a bad way. And I'm working very hard at building new relationships where some haven't been built before. We need each other. My fellow Oklahomans, we must take a fresh attitude, a fresh perspective, and begin to believe again that what is said to be impossible, for example, when a relationship's been fractured, that we can bring it back. I've never been one to let impossible stop me from anything. I've never been one to say it can't be done. Anything can be done when a heart is put behind it to build a true love relationship. So folks, I ask for your vote in the primaries on June 28th, 2022. I ask you to download our app, Sherwood 2022, and we can share messages that way back and forth. That's how we build relationships. There needs to be relationships between government and people, because it's not about me, the person. Folks, it's about we, the people. We, the people. So may the Lord bless you all, especially as you go into 2022. Let's believe big. Let's believe our next year is our best year. And always make our best better, not only every year, but every day. And let's build those relationships back to a place they've not even been before. My wife, Dr. Michelle, and I love you all very much. We appreciate your prayers. We appreciate your encouragement. And again, we wish you the best, most awesome 2022 possible. God bless you all.